What's up, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to another installment of That Science and Nature Show. I am your host, Jeremy Howard, and joining me, as always, my partner in crime and adventure of the Grand Line, Kiley Chernicki. Kiley, what's up?
Hello, hello. Partner in crime. I like that.
Yes, it's a callback to October. And joining us as well, we have two UMSL students who are making their debut on the podcast. First and foremost, Sarah Jackson. Sarah, welcome.
Hello. I'm grateful to be here. Happy to talk about some science and not science things.
Yes, science and not science things. And our other guest, Michael Hayes. Michael, welcome.
Hello, hello. Good to see you.
So, Sarah, for those of us and the listeners who may not know, who are you here at UMSL?
So I am a first-year grad student here at UMSL. I'm in the fish lab, which is the best lab, obviously, because we have fish, and that's cool. I'm doing some research into how to preserve genetics for fish, and just kind of how to make it ethical, well, not ethical, how to reproduce fish in captivity and not have them be completely inbred with one another. So, and just how to preserve that material over time through like cryopreservation.
Very cool. And Michael, who are you here at UMSL?
Yes, I'm a first-year PhD student. I am in Blaine's lab, which is the plant genetics / anther development, which anthers are the male reproductive organ in plants. You see them in flowers. They're the big, bright orange, yellowish structures that produce pollen. And so I'm looking into pollen and anther development and the genetics behind that, working a lot with sorghum, which is a grain, beautiful grain of the future, by the way. Love sorghum, been working on that, so enjoying my time here.
Very cool. Well, we're delighted to have you both, and we have a very cool episode for you listeners. If you're a regular listener to That Science and Nature Show, when we're on the January timeline, it's winter break. We don't have access to the radio studio, so I borrow Ray Cannonberg's podcast equipment, which he has very graciously always lent us for the last several years, and we do sort of a special topic episode. So we don't cover the news, we just go straight into the topic. And the topic for this episode is going to be all about the science of happiness. January is the most dreary month, so I think it's kind of fitting that we're talking about something more uplifting overall. But I have been taking, since roughly last Thanksgiving, a class on happiness. There is a professor at Yale. Her name is Dr. Laurie Santos. And she started this class, I want to say circa 2020, maybe slightly before that. And it was just taught just to her students at Yale. And it became very, very popular. And she was like, I should put this online so everyone can take it because there's a lot of great information on it overall. And I started taking it, like I said, last roughly Thanksgiving. It's about a 10-week course. It is not graded or anything. It is is just designed to kind of go at your own pace. It's roughly a module a week. The first 6 weeks are like lectures, and then the last 4 weeks are kind of implementing what you learn in the class into your daily life. Because I learned about this course several years ago, but I was like, I'll do that at some point. And I was like, you know what? We might as well do it now because, what do I have to lose besides my unhappiness? So we're gonna talk about kind of the lecture content from the class and kind of talk about like happiness and things that don't make us happy but we think maybe should, and things in our mind that kind of trick us to think a certain way about happiness, and then strategies we can kind of employ to be happier overall. So it's kind of all the lecture content. I want to take the class overall because I thought it was super cool to learn about like the science of how happiness works, but also there's a personal enrichment angle as well. Like I can use this stuff to improve my life, and I'm not sitting here as this podcast host being like, I'm gonna sit here and talk down and be like, you need to do this to be happy. I'm not Mary Poppins. I have my own struggles and challenges as well, so this is actually very enriching for me overall. And I like that the professor, when she introduced this course, she herself admitted that she's like, I'm not the most happy person in the world. I also need this material as well. So it's kind of nice to see that like the instructor of the course is not not talking down to anyone or anything. With that, we're going to start the conversation with just a general question for everyone we have here, and that is, what makes you happy in your own life? This is obviously very individualized, so your answers are going to vary, but I'm kind of just curious, like, in your own life, what makes you happy? Whoever wants to start with that.
I mean, I can start. For me, what makes me most happy, it's like, I hate to say just going outside, but it really is just going outside. If I am cooped up in the lab or cooped up in my room all day, I'm like dreary, my head's all foggy, and I step outside. No matter how miserable the weather is, I'll step outside and be like, oh, it's not terrible, is it? You know, and that could just be a walk. I have been driving several hours to just wander woodlands recently, and that has greatly boosted both my mental health as well as my work-life balance. I feel more efficient and happy during my work because I was like, that was a great hike yesterday. And I'm like, oh yeah, tomorrow, also a great hike. So I'm looking forward to something, and I'm looking back on something good. And so for me, it's, you know, you see it online where it's like, oh, go touch grass. Yeah. No, I recommend go touch grass.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's summing of it down. Just go touch grass.
Kylie or Sarah, how about you both?
I am a big time hobbies person, especially in like creative hobbies. So like, I don't know, I know you wouldn't know this, but I've like gotten into making like paper mache sea animals.
Okay.
Nice.
I've made like a whale shark, and I've made a bonnet head that's actually in my office up here.
Oh, cool.
But I get a lot of enjoyment. It's pretty large. I get a lot of enjoyment out of just like making things, and like I'm very much like a fidgety with my hands person. So it's really nice because I can have something to do with my hands, and then also I can like be listening to something or watching a movie or like hang out with other people. And then at the end, like I have something that I can have, or I have something that I can give to other people. And I just think that that's really like fulfilling for me.
Okay.
I'm kind of on the same vein of like the nature stuff, like hiking, kayaking, camping, like whatever. I love to do stuff in nature. Even just little walks like that usually spikes the serotonin for me. But I also really like food. So like trying a new restaurant or a new recipe. I don't really like cooking, but trying a new recipe does still, do it for me a little bit in spite of having to actually make the food. But I really like going out and like trying a new restaurant, or like going to some sort of festival that's based around food, or a market or whatever. Like definitely like that sort of stuff too.
Okay, very cool. So I'm hearing going out and doing things and sort of like creative hobbies or avenues is kind of the big summation of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I would have said before I took this course would be my hobbies, and then probably like friends and family, which is kind of a cliche answer, but like my friends do make me very happy. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you, in terms of the average person, not the four of us, but if you were to go ask them what you think would make them happier, what do you think they would say? So we were just going to go like on the street, interview people. Like, what do you need to be happy? What do you think most people might say?
I feel like most people's first answer is just like having more money.
Okay. Some money.
I think, in like the vein where it's like my troubles are covered. Like, oh, I have to worry about rent, electricity, all that sort of stuff. Your bills, those being covered, that's like nearly all your stressors, right? Your most prevalent stressors is like, oh, a lot of people can't even make it to the end of the month, right, with their budget and stuff. They're in debt and all that sort of stuff. And I think, it's not like, for me, I would say it's not money just like they'll buy things and be happy. It's to not have to worry about feeding you or your kids or your family members, right?
I think people might also say like health, or like being healthier. Like I think a lot of people have this image of like what's healthy or what's fit, and a lot of people would say like, oh, if I were just as skinny as that person over there, or like as muscular or whatever, then I'd be happy, if I could just be that healthy or that fit.
Okay, cool. So good diversity of answers. So the first thing we're going to do for the podcast is talk about misconceptions on happiness. And this is like the very first thing to go into. So there are things that we think, or again, the average person we walked to on the street and asked what they think will make them happy, but it actually does not. So I have a list here, and we're going to quickly go through these. So the first one is a good job. And a good job, quote unquote, from most people is considered salary. So how much money am I bringing in for me, my kids, my spouse, whatever? And where I kind of land on the pay scale is going to kind of dictate, like, do I have a quote-unquote good job or a bad job, regardless of what I am doing in the job, just the amount of money I'm bringing home. The second is money itself. So money itself does not actually affect happiness very much. There's sort of a cutoff overall that's seen around $75,000, where like if you make more than that, you're not actually expected to be any happier. It does help on the lower end because, like Michael mentioned, you get those basic needs covered. So like at that initial sort of for lack of a better word, primal level. Like the money is worth it, but as you go up, it doesn't really actually affect your happiness overall. This next thing is awesome stuff, is the way the class describes it. So just acquiring things. So like watches, clothes, cars, houses, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have a comment, Michael?
I disagree. I go antiquing and thrifting all the time, and when I get my new little knickknack to add to my knickknack shelf, I'm overjoyed. I've never been happier. So I think it's also, again, I'm a bit of a peculiar man. I really enjoy my little things. I have 5 knickknack shelves in my room.
Okay.
And so the knickknacks, they get me going.
All right.
Don't.
I have a knickknack shelf in every room.
There you go. Don't bash
Okay.
the knickknacks, apparently.
Yeah.
So according to research, wanting to acquire or thinking about stuff you want actually makes you unhappier overall. So just the act of like, I need to get this thing, this physical thing to have in my life. I don't have it. I need to go get it.
It's the consumerism.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a plague.
The next thing on the list is true love. And I want to say this is about happiness, not romantic infatuation. So people who sort of fall in love are only happy for a little bit. It kind of builds up to marriage, and then about 1 to 2 years after, it drops down to your baseline happiness before you met that person. That's not to say you fell out of love with them. It's just you kind of return to a baseline after a while. You get used to them. So the next is perfect body. So Kylie kind of alluded to this with like, if I could only lose this amount of pounds or like get more muscle, then like I would be over the moon. And some of the studies that talk about are like plastic surgery. So people kind of get plastic surgery, but then they get another plastic surgery, another, and that kind of just degrades their mental health over time because they will never achieve the perfect body. It'll always be something to go try and get. And then the last one, which is more related to students, is perfect grades. So like, I have to get an A in this class. I need to do X well on the exam. Otherwise, like, it's going to ruin my life. I won't be able to get into X, Y, or Z program, or, you know, get a great, good, quote unquote, good job, like I mentioned at the top. But that is actually only found to really have a small amount of happiness boost. So like, more people spend more time obsessing over grades than they probably should.
I definitely feel like the joy I get from getting good grades is much less than the stress I get from
God,
getting
yes.
a bad grade.
Definitely.
Yes,
Or the stress you
indeed.
spent to
Yes.
get the good grade.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So those are kind of the big things that people go after. The big sort of recurring theme is a lot of them are when things. So when I get that good job, then I will be happy. When I'm in that relationship, then I'll be happy. When I lose 20 pounds, then I'll be happy. So it's like when I get to X point, then my happiness will come to me. The problem is what most people do is they get the thing they're after and then they're not happy and they move the goalpost to a higher point. So for example, with the good job, I just started making 6 figures. But now I kind of want to make a little more than 6 figures. So like that's not good enough. So we're going to move the goalpost a little bit. And maybe now I lost 10 pounds, but I kind of want to lose 20 pounds now. I could look even better. So it's this like constantly moving of the goalpost. And because of that, people are not happy with these things. We kind of just keep reframing what we want. The next misconception that's not like a thing per se is that happiness is thought to be genetically set and like we can't change it. It's like I am born with X amount of happiness based on my genetic makeup. I can't be any happier or less happy, or some people are just like going to be happier than me naturally. That's just kind of the way the world works. We know that's not actually true. It does have some genetic predisposition, but it's not like 100%. Like you're not going to be happy because you were born a certain way. That's not how this works. And then the last misconception is that life circumstances are going to get in the way. So like we mentioned, like, oh, you got the stress of your bills to pay, or like maybe you have health concerns or something like that. It's like, I can never be happy because I don't have like my health the way I want to, or I don't have enough money, et cetera, et cetera. We know this isn't true. People who have major setbacks in life, like a death of a loved one, or, you know, maybe they're like some major health setback, like they're a paraplegic, like they are still capable of achieving happiness overall. They of course still have challenges, that's not to gloss over that, but again, the ability to achieve happiness is still something that they can achieve. So those are the big misconceptions overall. That's where the course starts at, and then it goes into the next section, which is sort of what Dr. Santos calls annoying features of the mind, which are sort of biases. Why do our minds think this way about, why do we want the good job and the money and the awesome stuff? Why do we think like this? There's 4 annoying features overall. And the first one is just, she classifies it as what's called miswanting, which is your mind's intuition is not correct. It sort of makes a mistake of what it wants and how much of that thing it wants and how much happiness it'll bring you. The example being like the money. Like, I need this amount of money to make me feel good, or I need a job to get to this salary and then I'll feel good. So not wanting the right part of those things. We're going to cycle back to those 6 items I listed, and we talk about kind of different things you could want out of them. So it's not that you can't want them, it's just that there's a different part of them that you want. The next annoying feature is that your mind does not actually think in absolutes, but it thinks in reference points. So you reference and compare to everything and anything, whether you want to or not. So it doesn't have to be a realistic thing. It doesn't even have to be in the vicinity of you. You don't really have a lot of control over these reference points. And because we have social media now, it's a lot harder to stop those reference points overall. One thing that happens is that we do what are called upward and downward social comparisons. So an upward social comparison is I'm scrolling on social media. I see this person who has a really nice house. I'm like, man, I don't have a really nice house. What does that say about me? I'm not as good as this person, and now I feel bad. That's not helpful at all because we're at different life stages. You know, we have different jobs, different aspirations at this point in life, et cetera, et cetera. We start at different places. The other thing is downward social comparisons, which people think makes them better, but doesn't actually make them better also. What this means is, again, let's say you're scrolling on social media and you find someone that you went to high school with, and you're like, man, they are a recovering alcoholic. And you're like, wow, look at this trash loser. Like, they are doing so much worse than me. I feel so much better. Thank God I didn't go down that avenue. Whether we admit it or not, we also do this. And this actually doesn't make us happy either. We think it like is a little boost because we're like, oh, we're above this person, but it actually doesn't help either. So both upward and downward comparisons don't do anything good for us. And the idea is that you don't want to really do them if you can avoid it. I'm not going to mention like that many studies because the class goes into a lot of like specific studies, but one I did want to mention is that in relation to reference points, they did a study where they interviewed people on salary, and this is like the whole good job amount of money you make, of how much you make relative to other people. And they asked a bunch of people that work in an office, would you rather make $50,000 and all of your coworkers make $25,000, or would you rather make $100,000 and all of your coworkers make $250,000? And more people on average said that they would take the $50K because everyone else would be closer to them and below them. So relatively, you were actually getting half the amount of money you were getting. You could buy so much more at that $100,000, but people care about how they stack up to everyone else. So they will choose the less good option because they don't think they're doing as well relative to their peers or coworkers or colleagues. So that blew my mind when I was like, really? Like, people would choose like way less money? Yes, they will.
Yeah.
That is actually a really...
my ego makes me poor.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is, again, another annoying feature. The third annoying feature is that our minds get used to stuff. The sort of sexy term for this is hedonic adaptation. So if you want to whip that out at a party and be like, it's hedonic adaptation.
So badly, I want to whip that out at a party.
This means that you habituate to both positive and negative stimuli over time, so it weakens. So this could be like, okay, you got that salary increase, but it's not making you as happy as it did a year ago because you got used to it. This money is just a regular thing now. That car you bought, it was really nice at the beginning, but you got used to it. You just drive to work every day, and now it's just kind of whatever. Again, you can kind of fill in anything. Winning the lottery is another good example. Like, people are through the moon, and then like they don't know what to do with the money, like a little ways, or they overspend it and end up, like poorer than they were when they started.
Yeah.
So it can kind of have mixed effects. It can also kind of be used in the other way, though, where we like estimate or like negative things don't affect us as much as we think they would. And this kind of bleeds into the last annoying feature, which is that we don't realize our minds get used to stuff. So we overestimate how intense something that is good or bad will be. So for example, with good, it'll be like, okay, Kiley, I just bought this pint of ice cream and I'm going to eat this whole thing right now because ice cream is good, and the more ice cream I eat, the better I'll feel. And then I feel sick, and Kiley was like, that was dumb. Why did you do that?
I'd probably be eating it with you, so it's not a good example.
And then like, okay, we don't feel so good. And then the next week we're like, whoa, ice cream. We should get a pint of ice cream and eat the whole thing. And we're really bad at remembering what the last experience we had was and how that made us feel. I guess probably more salient example to people is like if you go out drinking and you drink too much. Like, we make this mistake over and over and over again.
I'm never drinking again.
Yeah,
But
I'm
it's
never drinking again.
You want to go out drinking?
Famous last
Sure.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can kind of be used in a positive light where something negative will not affect us as much as we think. We're like, oh man, if I don't do well in this test, it's going to ruin my life. And then you don't do as well. And you're like, okay, that was bad, but it wasn't like as bad as I thought. But then the next test comes up and you're like, if I don't do well, this test is gonna, like, it's going to ruin my life. So we go through these cycles constantly of not getting not gauging things appropriately and falling into these same traps. So that's annoying features of the mind. Do we have any thoughts on that?
So I want to say that I'm going through the negative, like disproportionately, like blowing up a negative thing right now. I'm going through that cycle like every single day because I really don't like doing statistical analyses. And I also don't particularly love reading scientific journals or writing. Truly, I'm in the wrong profession, but that's another story completely. But
I'm
I'm
the profession a little bit.
Yeah, I'm working on 2 different papers right now, and one of them requires a bunch of rewrites and rereading, and the other one I finally got over it, but I was stuck on a statistical coding issue forever, and I like procrastinated on doing this coding for way too long. I won't say in case my boss listens to this podcast, but it took me like an hour to do, maybe 2 hours. And that was it. And then it was done. And I put it off for so long because I thought it was going to be the worst thing in the world. And it was like physically giving me like anxiety and stress. And then it was fine. But then I will repeat this cycle over and over and over again constantly. And it just, as soon as I read that in the notes, I was like, wow, I'm literally doing this right now. And it's horrible. And I really want to stop. But yeah, it's just feeds into itself.
It does indeed.
I definitely do that all the time. Anytime I know I need to read like scientific articles.
It's the worst.
This is like 30 minutes to an hour of my time that I'm going to have to spend trying to understand this article, especially stuff that's like outside of like explicit coursework where it's like for my thesis, but because my thesis is not until like I don't have to be done with it until like 2 years from now, that I'm like, it's fine. Like I'll catch up. Like it's fine. And now I'm sitting here. I'm like, I like really need to be more consistent about reading these papers.
It's hard.
It is hard.
See, I just lie to myself when I need to get things done, and then I stress myself out, and then I do it, and then it's done early. And even if I like procrastinate it and like super negative thoughts, like I can't do this, I got time. And so for me, it's just whenever my brain's like getting used to something or like overexcited or over worried, I just try to lie to myself as much as possible.
I do the same thing. I set my deadlines a week ahead of time for courses.
Yeah.
So that
wow.
I can still procrastinate, but at least like if I procrastinate and then meet that deadline, then like I'm still early. So
Yeah.
then I just saved myself.
Wow. I never did anything quite like that.
Yeah,
But
see,
maybe I should have.
now the benefits of being in school versus having it as your job, because nobody's setting deadlines for me,
Yeah.
which is a problem.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think earlier point that you said on like the love thing like resonated, because I've had friends before who like will be single, and I think they get so stuck on like the high initially that they felt when they were in their relationship, like of just like constantly like feeling like those endorphins like rushing as you're like with a person, that anytime they were single again, then it was like always about how they were so single and they were so lonely and sad, and like and then it would turn into like them like overreading into interactions with like just like normal friends, like with me or other people, where then they were like so desperate to like be with somebody because they were so sad being alone, that then they were like, well, I've developed feelings for you, and like I have a crush on you. And it's like people who are like in committed relationships or like do not like that person's like do not orient to that person specifically, like in terms of like gender wise or whatever, and then they just get over obsessed with it. And
They're
it's
chasing
like,
that high.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which
It's
I
like
feel
same
like
for the
so
drug
many
addicts,
people
right?
do, rather than like
Yeah.
everyone's like, when you mention the like, oh, when this happens, when that happens, like kind of similarity between all of them, I feel like every time I see somebody who feels like perpetually unhappy, it's always like, oh, but when this happens, when I'm with this person, whenever this is happening. But it's like, what's going on right now
Right.
that like you can focus on and like be thankful for and happy for.
Yeah, something with the last annoying feature of the mind that I forgot to mention is there's this idea of focalism, which is you can only focus on one thing and you just ignore everything else. You are incapable of realizing that there's a lot of things going on in life, but you fixate on one specific thing, and that can kind of pull you down or block future happiness that could be coming in from other people that you might need.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's move into overcoming some biases and sort of resetting your happiness. So some suggestions that are made in the course are, first, rethinking awesome stuff. So I guess this doesn't apply to you, Michael, because you said you're content with your knickknacks.
I love my knickknacks.
You're just so
But
awesome
also, I
already.
think on the point you were like, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
All of mine I come across by accident.
Okay.
And so it's like a surprise.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That'd be perfect on my shelf.
Okay.
And I wasn't looking for that.
Gotcha.
When I am looking for a specific like knickknack, antique, or anything, I can never find it. And I think that's
Just the way the universe works.
Exactly, that's the way the universe works.
Gonna
And
bring
so-
it to you.
Okay, no, you're good. So in terms of rethinking awesome stuff, the big thing is you try to not invest in material things. Obviously, everyone has to own some level of things just to operate as a human being, but to invest more in experiences because A, they leave you with memories, which are, feel good. I mean, hopefully good memories, but they also connect you to other people. So if you do an activity with someone else, an experience, go to a concert, go to a food festival, have people over for a meal, that kind of thing. That is more powerful than having the new car, the new house. As much as we think initially the new house is what's going to make me happy or the new whatever is going to make me happy, it's actually the experience is going to be much more powerful. In terms of thwarting hedonic adaptation, a couple things that you can do psychologically is what's called savoring. And this is where you step out of an experience to appreciate it. So it's kind of like being in the moment, but also like reflecting on it later. So you can do this in a couple of ways. First is kind of sharing with other people. So like, again, like having a meal together with someone versus just I'm eating by myself, or talking to people about this cool experience you just went to. Again, you're kind of reflecting on how good it made you feel, making sure you're present in the moment. So trying not to be on your phone while you're at that concert or you're hanging out with somebody as much as possible. And again, like I mentioned, sort of reflecting on it overall. Even that could just be like, if it was like a very unique experience, you could like journal about it or just something that's a little more personal. Things they tell you to avoid that thwart savoring are focusing on the future. So you're sitting there being like, man, this is really cool. I got that paper due next week. I'm like, that's not going to be super helpful. That's going to block that. Reminding yourself that it'll be over soon. I like this food, but this pint of ice cream Kylie and I are eating, it's going to be done in a minute. And then I'm not going to have ice cream.
Saddest part.
So trying to again, focus on what you're actually doing. And then thinking something was not as good as you hoped for. So I was like, that kind of sucks. Like that attitude is not great. And granted, sometimes you will go to a movie or have an experience that's not good. But if you always go into the mindset of it's got to be up here, it's going to be hype, it's going to be amazing, you're probably going to be let down if you kind of have your expectations through the roof. So maybe taking things a little more as they are. Another thing for hedonic adaptation is what's called negative visualization. And this is where you're going to think about things and what they would be like if something good never happened. This is actually really useful for people who are in relationships because you can think about what would my life be like had I not met this person. Like it would be not as good because they fulfill a lot of my romantic physical needs, et cetera, et cetera. You could do this for friendships, coworkers, mentors. Again, it's kind of a good technique to stop and reflect on the things you have in your life, which leads into the last thing, and that's gratitude, which is being thankful for what you have, which I will admit I'm not the best at. Being in grad school and you don't have a lot and you're stressed out all the time, I definitely struggle with this a lot. But kind of taking time to reflect on the good things you do have in your life through things like gratitude journaling or letter writing. So I was curious about the letter writing thing because one thing that the course mentions you can do besides just writing down good things or journaling about your day and good things that happen into it is that you can actually write a letter to someone that meant a lot in your life and thank them for something that you did not thank them for before. And the idea is that you have to physically go give them this letter. So like Kylie, you're an awesome co-host. I'm going to write this letter about how great and awesome I love you being on the show. But instead of me just handing it to her, I would physically go and read it to her. And I was like, oh, that's got to be the most awkward thing. That probably blows up everyone's faces. And I looked up a little. This wasn't in the class. I was just curious about this. They've done studies on this, and people always overestimate how awkward they think it's going to be. Kylie's going to be like, oh man, this is so weird, Jeremy. Why did you do this?
Sit here through this whole letter. Oh my
God.
god.
This letter while you're praising me and telling me how awesome I am. They overestimate it, or they think it's going to convey the wrong idea, like romantic attraction or something like that, instead of just I'm thankful that you were in my life. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. And supposedly it has the ability to boost happiness for both the letter reader and the letter recipient for up to a month. So it has a really big boost.
Wow.
Gratitude has a lot of effects on people's personal lives, which is something we don't really do a lot of, but we probably should do a lot more of. So
To be fair, I got a glowing recommendation letter from my supervisor when I was a TA coming from my undergraduate school, and I thought about that for at least a year afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah.
You read your
gratitude
letter
has
to
powerful
recommend?
stuff.
Well, she sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
So, because she was just like, because there was a way to turn it in, like, without sending it to you. But then she was like, here, like, this is what I want to say. Like, let me know what you think. And I was like, oh.
She asked.
But I'm not going to edit someone's, like, recommendation letter.
Yeah, I was like,
I could sound better.
Yeah.
Just let me
You need some more very,
This
very,
person
very
did all this
really
extra
awesome.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but gratitude is very powerful, so kind of keep that in mind because that'll come up a few times as well. Another thing you can do for, again, overcoming biases is sort of resetting your reference points. So I mentioned before, we're constantly comparing ourselves both upward and downward, whether we realize it or not. A couple things they mentioned you can do is try to re-experience an old reference point. So this is going to require sort of going into your mind palace and thinking about your past. But a good example of this is like maybe you had like a really crappy old job and you're like, wow, that really sucked. That was a terrible time in my life. Look how far I have come since X point. And that'll be like you've seen all of the growth and all the challenges you have overcome. And that's a good way to sort of reset yourself. You're not like, I'm not comparing myself to, the professors here at UMSL who have published a million things and they have all these like amazing career milestones. I'm like, we're not there. But like, where did I used to be? Like me personally, I used to work at a warehouse. So like, I know what a crappy job is like. That's one thing you can do. Another thing to do is you're comparing yourself a lot to go and actually check out what someone's life is like, the reference point that you were comparing yourself to actually see like, is this as glamorous and as good as I think it would be? And maybe it's not. Maybe they have things they have to deal with that you don't know about. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know, this person like had an STD or something that you're dealing with, if they're like a close friend because you're just judging what you saw on social media or some like big life thing that they have to deal with all the time. So it kind of, again, resets you and maybe gives you gratitude for the health you do have or what you do have in your life. And then they just talk about avoiding social comparison. So I mentioned gratitude already. Gratitude is going to come up a lot. They mentioned, and most people are probably not going to do this, whether at this table or listening to this podcast, to delete your social media. So let's be honest, most of us are pretty addicted to it and we use it all the time. The one thing they do say if you don't delete it is that you can be more mindful of the comparisons you're making. So for example, if you have a certain body type and you like looking at fashion, maybe you subscribe to pages that reflect your body type and not a body type that is not related to you. Or, if you're like a guy into physical fitness, you look for people who like, again, have a similar body type and are of the physique that you are versus just like a bunch of random people like online that have different physiques from you. So again, kind of resetting it and like making your reality more related to what you actually are as the individual. They also talk about interrupting consumption. So if you're enjoying something, taking a break from it can actually be super helpful, and then coming back to it later, that's for positive things. So like instead of like, oh, I'm going to binge watch this TV show for 10 hours, like maybe I take a break after an hour or two and I go for a walk and then I come back. You'll actually enjoy it more long term than if you just try to consume it all at once. They do a really good example in the course where they show this cat with a bunch of hot dogs and they're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then it's not actually great. Because it's like, if I keep eating the hot dogs, I'll feel good.
I think that applies to people too.
That does apply to people.
Have you ever sat down and eaten like 10 hot dogs? Not a good time.
I've even been to a hot dog eating competition.
However, the reverse is true for bad things. Like Kiley mentioned, getting the work done with statistics stuff. For bad things, you actually want to try and squish them together and just knock them all out at once. So you don't want to just try and like, I'll break up this really crappy thing into a bunch of little pieces. And like, no, actually, you probably just want to power through it. That's actually going to have a better overall effect on you overall. And the last thing they mentioned for resetting reference points is variety. So like switching up what you do, like the food you eat, the activities you do, anything to break up the boring monotony of day-to-day life. Because what you're probably doing when you're comparing yourself to other people is being like, look at all these cool experiences they're having. What am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday and the day before and the day before. So in any way you can. I realize we're grad students, so like we don't have the most amount of money to go do lots of things with, but any variety can be helpful. So any thoughts on trying to overcome biases? Anything that resonated with you?
For me, I really like the breaking up, like enjoying something when you're enjoying it. One example, I have a buddy, and we had this album that just came out, and we both loved it a lot. But my playlist is like 7,000 songs long.
Wow.
And so when I hit shuffle, I sometimes hear that album. It's like 300-hour-long playlist. So like, I usually don't.
Right.
But my buddy just listened to it over and over again. And then when we got into the car and I was putting it on, he's like, I'm done with that album. I've heard it too much. And I'm like, did you listen to anything else the past 2 weeks? He's like, no. Well, of course you're going to get bored of it. You're going to get tired of it. It's going to become bland. And for like the negative thing, doing it all at once, you block out a day a week, and that's your misery day.
Oh.
That's what I do.
I've never heard of this.
That's your misery day.
Call it the misery day.
When it's end of semester, you have like papers to write. You get really caffeinated. You write all your papers as much as you can on that day. And then the next day, you do only things you like. And so it's like you got through the worst of it. Hopefully you finished it on just one misery day. And you don't have to do it back to back. And then the next day, and then like if you get it all done, then you're like, I can enjoy stuff again. And so you pile it all, deal with it, and you keep going. That's what I like to do, at least.
I feel like I need to sign like a release of liability. Just like pump myself up with caffeine for one day.
Oh yeah. I
If
wish
you find me, don't worry about it.
St. Louis Bread Co. didn't get rid of that one energy drink that like.
The one that they got sued for?
Yeah.
Which energy drink is this?
There was a they had a caffeinated beverage, and this girl took 5 of them and it killed her.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was like a lemonade thing.
Yeah,
that they
a
ended
lemonade
doing.
Energizer.
Okay.
And then
Like
they also
Ford
had
Loco.
these like
Yeah.
it was like a subscription that you could get where it's like you can go to the like St. Louis Bread Go. I'm used to Panera, but whatever. And get like free refills if you have like the drink card. And so people were going and getting like this caffeinated lemonade that was just open air in the restaurants and then filling it up. And then I want to say, I don't know if it was like over or if like one large was like at like the limit, caffeine limit of like daily dose.
It was like 500.
But yeah, someone got
milligrams.
like really messed up from like drinking way too much of it.
Yeah, I think she took like over like 3,000 milligrams of caffeine or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. Again, I don't know the exact numbers.
Too much
But
of a good
too
thing.
much.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, we're back to the
And
happiness
we're
thing.
back.
But you know, 4 is the limit on there at least.
Yes. To be fair, I do the same thing. I do that with a lot of things because it goes back into like fear of like what if it ends up being like bad, where I'm like I have certain things that I habituate myself to, and I continually like go to those of like preferred foods, preferred like hobbies, or like preferred songs, and I'm like I just need to have these things that I just repeat over and over and over again. And then there are other things that I will like mix up, but I have to have these things. And if they get messed up, then I'm just gonna like be upset about
I
it.
need my chicken nuggets and mac and cheese for dinner.
It's actually pho from Nudo.
Oh, at least it's healthy.
The big thing that resonated with me when I've been taking this class is the savoring, really stopping to appreciate things. So like when I'm eating something, to like focus on that, or when I'm hanging out with someone, again, trying to put my phone away to like be more in the moment. So like I love bagels. I've been trying to savor my morning bagel every day. So really enjoying that. But it's the little things.
Yeah. The bit about like when you're actually doing the activity, not thinking about how it's a little disappointing or like not what you expect. I think that's something that stood out to me because I have a tendency to do that, or like build something up in my head or get
Right.
really excited about an event or a food or whatever, and then it's like instead of just enjoying the good parts of the event, I'm like sitting there like, this is disappointing.
Yeah.
I just want to go home.
I would rather be doing this.
Yeah,
Right.
I've done that.
Or,
before.
I guess
I'd rather be doing this.
I'll get it right next
Yeah.
time. The next event will be better
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
I definitely think a lot of them go into just like mindful enjoyment, which I feel like is a new skill I've had to learn as an adult, where it's like, I feel like, especially for like getting into like young adulthoods, you take a lot more for granted than you did before, and then you get into adulthood. Like I closed on a house like last February, and then there's
congrats.
like, oh, thank you. And there's all those stressors and everything like that, and it's like you kind of have to like take a minute to be like just like enjoy what's going on rather than like worrying about like all the things like in the future that could be happening or that will happen if you do this, because I've definitely had to do that after like life stressors and then like relationship issues with like family members, where you have to like you have so much other things going on, like it's either like you like kind of like a if I don't cry I'm gonna if I don't laugh I'm gonna cry about it type thing.
Yeah.
But then also like taking the time to just find enjoyment out of the things that you can, I feel like is much more helpful than just like pushing through, like feeling like just like letting yourself feel super upset about everything going on.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're going to move into the actual things that make us happy. So the way the class breaks this up is that they have what are called better wanting 1 and 2. Better wanting 1 is wanting the right parts of the things that we think we want, which that'll cycle back into the 6 things I mentioned at the top of the topic. And better wanting 2 is wanting better stuff that we didn't know we wanted. So With Better Wanting One, they only have a couple examples of this. They did not go through all 6. But for example, going back to the good job, I mentioned that most people think of a good job as X amount of money. When I have this much money, I will be making a good job. However, since we kind of talked about that once you get like past $75,000, happiness doesn't really increase, and it didn't have that much an initial effect on you once you get past those basic needs. But what they talk about the good job is that picking one that aligns with what are called your character strengths. So everyone has strengths and weaknesses. It's like the worst interview question you ever have to answer, but we all do have strengths and weaknesses overall. And some examples of this include things like leadership, appreciation of beauty, citizenship, creativity, humor, spirituality, love of learning, social intelligence. There's a lot. I just listed a couple here. And if you pick a job that kind of aligns more with your character strengths, even if it's not exactly the job title that you wanted, that actually has a huge boost in your happiness because it gives you a sense of purpose, and it can lead to what we refer to as a calling. Like, this job uses my core skills here, and it is challenging and engaging in a way that I can use these skills, but I can overcome it, which leads into the second point they talk about, which is this idea of flow, where if you have a job that, is a good job, like truly a good job, you're going to be immersed in it, but it's challenging enough because you have the skills. So, like, if you have like a super boring job, like when I worked at that warehouse, that was a very easy job and was not very challenging, and also the environment sucked. But like in terms of the job itself, like that was not a good job for those reasons. I could sit here and look at the pay; also wasn't fun either. But again, like it wasn't challenging, it wasn't immersing. It was just something I did to get a paycheck. However, I would argue something like grad school is on the other end of the spectrum, where it is way challenging, but you may not have the skills to necessarily do the job. The whole part of grad school is that you have to learn the skills to do the job, which is the hard part. But initially on the outset, I'm like, this is really hard because I don't have the skills to do the job, and you want me to do this job, but I don't yet have those skills. So it's very stressful. So it's kind of the other end of the spectrum. So you want something in the middle where you have the skills to do it, but it does challenge you in some kind of way. And then the other thing they mentioned with an example is with good grades. Again, if you're a student listening to this, so instead of focusing on just like the letter outcome, which is like an extrinsic factor, so something that's coming from outside of you to tell you your value or not, focus on the idea of like a growth mindset. Like, I want to learn this topic so I can be a better scientist or a better whatever I'm going to school for, as opposed to just like, I have to get this grade to get this thing, to get this thing, to get this thing, to get this thing, and I'll be happy when I have this grade or whatever. And this can apply even outside of the classroom. So just having a growth mindset in life is good for picking up skills or things you might be curious about in the world. So, and it gives you variety as well because you try different things. The one example I might add, like just while I was thinking about this, was like with perfect body. So instead of focusing on I have to look a certain way, focus on like I want to improve my health overall. And usually when you take care of yourself, you will also look and feel better. So you'll kind of get some of those benefits that you were hoping to get in the first place. So that's wanting the right parts of the things we want. So again, those things I listed at the beginning, you can want those. It's just you want the right piece of those. The second thing with wanting stuff we don't yet know. A lot of this you're probably going to like maybe roll your eyes a little bit and be like, this is so cheesy. The cheesy stuff has been research proven. So go with it. So the first thing is kindness. So seeking out chances to do kind things for others actually gives us a big happiness boost. But it only works if you were the one like doing the kindness, not you receiving all the kindness. So it's like, oh, thanks for all that free stuff, Kiley. I really appreciate it. That doesn't give me a boost of happiness. That would give Kiley a boost of happiness, but not me. And someone asked in the class, because they did like a Q&A session for the recorded lectures, I'm like, well, where does reciprocity come into this? Where it's like, well, if I do something nice for you, are you going to do something nice for me? And there's kind of a line of like, where do you draw it, where you're just giving people free stuff or free time, attention, help, etc., like without getting anything back. So you have to kind of maybe choose your kindness carefully or spread it around. Like, don't just give it all to one person. You could do kindness for strangers or, people you don't know, because that can, maybe make their day better. And ideally they would maybe go on to do something kind for someone else. So kindness is a big thing. And who doesn't want to be treated with kindness? It's kind of...
Isn't there a whole song about that?
Probably.
Is there?
From Selena Gomez. Kill him with kindness.
I don't remember that one,
I
but I'll take your word for
nursery
it.
rhyme or something. I was like, I have no idea.
All right, the next one is social connection. So just being around other people is going to boost your happiness. And when you are actually with other people, you are found to enjoy things more. So again, eating a meal, going to a concert, just hanging out, anything like that. Social connection is actually extremely powerful, so powerful that it has a lot of health benefits, such as leading people who are very well socially connected are less vulnerable to any kind of premature death. They are more likely to survive some kind of fatal illness, so like cancer. And they are less likely to pretty much fall apart or spiral out of control from any kind of stressful event because you have that social connection to kind of hold you in place. So it's powerful stuff. Don't knock it. Next thing is time affluence. So just prioritizing having time over money. Overall, we find that the more time you have, the greater happiness you have. However, more people, when surveyed, would say that money is more important than time. So again, kind of that miswanting with the annoying features of the mind. If you're like, well, money's more important, I should pick up this extra shift instead of like having this extra time and maybe make a little bit of less money. Again, it's hard if you are living closer to poverty or you're not, your basic needs are not as met. That gets tricky. But in terms of when you have a lot more money, it's like, well, do I really need to work another hour? It's like, I could go do something else. One thing that was very interesting to me that they talked about, which is actually you can use money to buy back time when you have a lot more. So for example, if I don't want to clean my apartment, I could hire somebody to do that or to go grocery shopping for me. And when I was like younger, I was like, that just seems like you're being lazy. But now that I've learned about this, I'm like, actually, that's pretty smart, because if I'm super busy and I have a 40 hour week or whatever, and like I don't get a lot of time to see my friends, it's like, maybe that's actually not a bad idea. It's like, it's a few bucks relative to my salary. It's like, why not? I get that time back and I get to spend it doing things I want, and it will boost my happiness. So I have come a little bit around on people who hire people to do things for them.
Oh yeah,
That's fair.
cleaning the house friggin' sucks. But I want a clean house.
Disagree. I
So,
love cleaning. Cleaning's so much fun.
I mean, I don't want to say it.
It's everyone's favorite activity to do instead of PhD writing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
my favorite procrastination episode or like activity, and my fiance would probably listen to this episode and be like, what are you even talking about? You clean all the time. But it's only because I want a clean house. If I had the ability to hire somebody to clean my house, I would absolutely do that.
Right. Those are some maybe more, I don't say drastic examples, but there's probably other things if you brainstormed, you could be like, I could just spend a few dollars on this thing and I get some time back. And maybe that'll add up over months and months and months. So things to think about. The next one, which Sarah kind of alluded to, is control over one's mind. So the course talks about this idea of mind wandering. So you're not focusing on the task at hand. You are shifting to other thoughts and feelings about the past, the future, worries, anxieties, whatever. And of course, this has a negative effect on happiness because you're not engaged in the thing you're thinking about. You're just stressing and worrying over something that is probably outside of your control in the present moment. The big thing they talk about for this is meditation. So, which meditation is kind of a vague, broad category, but they find that effects of meditation are just, they go beyond the meditation itself. So if you only meditate for like 5 to 10 minutes a day, you're not only getting the benefits for those 5 to 10 minutes, you're actually getting the benefits for like days later. So in terms of keeping you present in the moment. So meditation is actually one of the things I'm trying to focus on for like they have like what's called a rewirement challenge at the end where like you take the stuff and you try to implement it into your life. So like I'm trying to do a little bit of meditation each night. And so far it's going okay. We'll see. I have to reassess myself at the end of the course. But I tried doing a meditation workshop with Raj like a year ago, and that was like a very like weekend long, like we're meditating for like a half hour to an hour. Like this is, and they want us to meditate for like a half hour every night. I'm like, I'm doing it for a few minutes every other day, so it's a little more manageable. So you can get very hardcore with that. The last thing, which I feel like everyone knows this, but no one wants to do it, is healthy practices. So first being exercise, so just any little bit of physical activity you can do has huge psychological benefits and also improves your cognitive functioning. So you'll actually do better at your job or school if you do a little bit of exercise. Same with sleep. Sleeping is found to make you happier and ultimately can improve your cognitive performance. However, most people probably kind of chuck sleep to the side to get more time to do fun things or fun things in the moment. And people generally, I tend to not like exercise, but that's kind of just America.
Yeah.
I think people like, I don't know, the exercise thing just makes me think about people having, it goes back to like thinking about the wrong thing. Well, maybe not necessarily it's the wrong thing. I think for some people it could be the right thing. When people, I feel like, think about like, oh, I just need to be more active, they always have, or they tend to have that negative connotation of like, oh, I need to be in a gym and like making myself super uncomfortable and like running and doing all this. When it's like, I feel like I got most into like doing exercise and being active whenever I found stuff that was equally as active as it was fun to me. Like I started by getting into like tennis. Like I'm by no means good at tennis, but I love tennis. Like I think it's so fun to play with someone else and then you're just talking outside, running around, you're kind of dying, but like it's super fun. And I don't think as many people think about doing like fun active stuff as opposed to, oh, I need to be healthy, so I need to be in the gym for like 2 hours every day so that I can be in bikini body by the time summer comes around again.
Right. And that's again back to the when. When I'm in this body type or this body shape, then I'll be happy because I'll look good for social media to compare myself to everyone else.
Right.
So of the things that actually make us happy, anything in particular resonate with you? So let me just recap that really quickly. Page. All right, so kindness, social connection, time affluence, mind control, healthy practices, and then wanting the right parts of
Mind
things.
control,
Mind control.
my favorite.
I mean, in
You're
essence,
getting
that's what
very
it is. What it is.
sleepy. I really connect with being social. I look forward to days on my week where I'm with my friends. I usually, when I'm writing down in my journal and stuff, it's like I put a little star next to it if I really like that day. And usually the days with my friends, they have a little star on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I'm doing a very large exercise activity. So I usually work out in the gym basically every other day or every day. But I sometimes go on, 5 to 10 mile hikes.
Nice.
There was one time in February, I walked 25 miles from my house to St. Peter's.
Okay.
I was unemployed at the time, so that was
Okay,
why.
I was like, you had a lot of
But
time affluence.
It was about 8 hours, but it was like I had never felt so good because I got to my end location and I nearly passed out because of how tired I was.
Wow.
But I was like, my brain was floating. I was thinking so aggressively. It was amazing. So being social and exercise, big things. I don't, however, like to mix those two.
Okay.
I don't like to go on hikes with people that much.
Okay.
Because I walk too fast and no one else walks as fast as I do.
Have you ever hiked with Addie?
I'm not.
You may have met your match there then.
I nearly trail run. But
Yeah, she nearly
okay.
trail runs.
Yeah.
She's got those like biker legs. She used to be a cyclist.
Yeah,
so.
no, I
I'm
gotta.
in the caboose, going at my own pace.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I walk really fast and then I stop and go off trail to look at bugs and plants, and then I get back on trail and.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very biologist thing to do.
Yeah.
We've done that many times on the
Yeah.
grad student hikes we've been on.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely said it before, but like mindfulness, I think does so many wonders. Like the mind control aspect of like, because I think I'm by nature an anxious person, and it can be bad enough if the situation is bad enough to me that I like begin to feel ill and like very like uncomfortable, and I've really had to learn to like take myself outside of like the things that I think that are really, really bad and just enjoy what's going on, like being active or like doing hobbies or spending time with other people. Because if I don't, then I'm just gonna like be spiraling and just
Yeah.
have a horrible time.
yeah.
No.
It wasn't until I got to my master's program at SAUE where I realized like there's always going to be stuff you have to do, so you need to stop and smell the roses, because I was miserable in undergrad. I just like studied all the time and worked, in part because there's a lot of like external pressure from my parents about the amount of money that was put down for school, but also everyone's like surrounding me were like biology pre-med people. It's like we got to do well, so like there's a lot of like bad external factors, so it's like, okay, this is my life and where everything else is going to be put on hold. So then I was of course very miserable, and now that I realize like, oh, that was why, because you didn't stop and do the social stuff and take as much time to do exercise and be mindful and all that. So things to think about. If you're undergrad listening to this, stop and smell the roses. Don't spend all your time studying.
Oh, yeah.
Grades will not make you happy. I already told you this.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell lots of like my nephew just started college, and like one of the things I told him was like just do everything, like at least your first year, like
Yeah.
do all the events on campus, even if they seem dumb and lame, and like especially because he was living on campus, I was like go to all the weird like late night things that are just random, like join a bunch of random clubs even if you don't stick with it,
Yeah.
like just do stuff, because that's the best. That was like the best part of my undergrad experience. I mean, I got good grades for the most part, but
Right.
it's like that didn't really matter. Like all the
Yeah.
stuff I remember is like the cool stuff that
Yeah,
I did.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm the same way. My first year of undergrad was like really miserable, especially the spring semester, because I didn't have a roommate in dorms. So I was just by myself. And also anybody who had to do Alex, I had to do Alex for chem for like my first 2 semesters.
What is
No idea what
Alex?
that is.
Alex is like this online homework program for like math, but our school used it for chemistry. And it's basically on like, it works on the professor assigns you like units or chapters to do, and it can be anywhere from like 5 to like 20 or more. And they all work on like, you need to get like 3 questions correct in a row, but they switch around the question. And usually the third question is switched around enough that it's feels like a different question than the first two. So unless you like really knew what you were doing, you would just end up like getting through the first two questions and then failing the third, and then you would have to restart and like redo that whole unit.
That seems like just something to waste everyone's time.
It really was. Like, I get what they were going for of like trying to get you to practice, but it was like everybody at my school, and I'm sure anybody who like had to go through that program that's listening, like knows the struggle of this program, and everybody hated it. And it's like, it was like a good chunk of your grade. I want to say it was like at least like 15%.
Wow.
Jeez.
That was like your homework for the classes. Very frustrating. But like the point that I'm getting to is the parts that I remember the most were not like being miserable doing chemistry and like crying in my dorm. It was like whenever I got like involved and I was a TA and I was like spending time like helping students or talking and doing stuff with like my peers and things like that. Like it got to the point in senior year for me where like the joke was like I lived in the walls of the building with the roaches because I was just there all the time. Like I really only went home like once it was like 6 or 7 at night because I had like nothing else to do. I did everything on campus that day, and I was just like, I was teaching like 4 different classes in one semester for like different biology classes that they offered.
Right. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last part of the content from the class, which is strategies for better habits. And this is kind of appropriate for the new year, as many people have New Year's resolutions. So I pretty much told you everything you need to be happy. So everyone who's listening to this or at this table should just immediately be happy, right? Wrong. It's because we have this thing that is mentioned at the top of the course. I kind of buried it until now because I think it's a little more appropriate for this part of the podcast. It's called the G.I. Joe fallacy. So Dr. Laurie Santos actually coined this term with some of her colleagues. And this is this idea that in the 80s, there was this G.I. Joe show, and they'd solve over the problem. I never actually watched the show. I just watched like a clip of it, of what they were talking about with the fallacy. At the end of the show, they give the kids some lesson, like don't answer the store for strangers or whatever. And the kids would be like, thanks, whoever. And they like, now I know. And then they'd be like, and knowing is half the battle. That's where that came from. The idea is that for the fallacy, knowing is actually not half the battle, because just because you know something does not mean you know how to actually implement it into your own life. So like I could tell you all this stuff, but unless you actually go forth and do it, it doesn't actually matter. This also applies to like any cognitive biases you have. So someone can tell you you're biased about something, but unless you actively try to undo it, it doesn't actually matter. So just because you know it doesn't mean you know how to do it or implement it. So I guess this is the hard part I have to tell the listeners and everyone at the table is that you're going to have to do a lot of work to make yourself happy. Happiness is not a when thing. It's a thing you have to put in energy and time and effort to do now, which I know no one wants to hear. You want to just have the happiness wash over you. But yes, you do have to put in the work. But like most habits, once you get good at it, it comes pretty easy. So they mentioned a couple of things you can do for strategies to help boost your happiness. Or again, if you're just listening to this and like, I'm in New Year's resolution mode, you can implement these for that as well. So the first one is having situational support. So finding situations that actually promote you and help, change or improve whatever habits you're trying to do. So the presence of things can actually influence your behavior overall, good or bad. So the example is like, if I have a bowl of candy on the table, probably going to reach for the bowl of the candy and eat candy, healthy stuff. Whereas if I had a bowl of fruit on the table, if we reached for it, it would be healthier. Maybe you wouldn't reach for the fruit, but you wouldn't reach for any candy.
Sit there until it rots.
But this applies in that you can like fix bad environments by removing things that tempt you. And food is an obvious example, but maybe there's like, again, for like peer pressure, or if someone's like creating a negative environment in terms of maybe you're trying to study or you're trying to get this new habit, like go to the gym, you can have people, you can remove yourself from people that are not interested and don't align with the values or the things you're going after. And you can also promote healthy environments, which is surrounding yourself with people or good things that support your habits. So like I know Michael mentioned he doesn't like to work out with other people, but if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have a lot of motivation, maybe you have like a partner to go to the gym with, and that will kind of, again, have a social misspoke. A social element that kind of keep you accountable, but again, you have someone in your environment who wants to support you and your goals, and most likely you theirs. The second strategy is with goal setting. So most people, when they make resolutions or do things, they just say, I want to eat healthier, or I want to save money, like very vague stuff. First thing is you got to be specific about your goals. So you got to give me the who, what, where, when, how, why. So for example, with like, I'm trying to save money. How about, and just instead of that, you're like, I'm going to pack my lunch 3 times a week and bring it from home, so I don't buy lunch at the cafe or whatever at my job. Or with gym stuff or exercising, instead of being like, I want to be healthier, it's like, I'm going to go to the gym twice a week at 8 a.m. I'll do cardio on Tuesday and I'll lift weights on Thursday. So it's like you have specific, where am I going? What am I doing? Who am I doing it with? So you know. And then kind of the next thing with that is all about goal visualization. So thinking about both the outcome of what you want, but also the obstacles. So most people just think about, I want this thing, but they don't think about the things that kind of fall in place and block them from getting that. The important thing they mentioned in this course is that you actually have to think about both of them, but you must think about the outcome first. So you have to think about what is the things that I want, and then what will get in the way. If you think about what are the things that get in the way first, then you're not motivated to go after what you want, because all you're thinking about is like, oh, there's so many things that are preventing me from getting this thing. Why bother? They have this method that has to do with like goal planning, which is called WOOP, which stands for wish. It's fun to say, which stands for wish, outcome, obstacles, plan. So you think with the wish, like, what do I want? Like, and you could WOOP, as they say in the class, anything you want. You could do little things like just exercise. You could do big things like, is this a career path I want to go on? Like, is this something I want to pursue right now? So you think like, what do I want in this moment? And then the outcome of like the wish overall. So what would I get if I got this? And then you think about, again, the obstacles in the way. And the important part is you have to think about the plan. So you know what's in the way now. What are you going to do when you hit that obstacle? So the classic example being, I want to get up to go to the gym, but when the alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I do not want to get up. So what am I going to do to overcome that obstacle? And you could use this in any plethora of examples.
Put
and
the
different
alarm on the other side of the room, so you have to get up.
Yeah, that's an example. And that's an example of a plan. If this thing happens, then I will do this thing. And with all the psychological research that was mentioned in the course, like, we know that if you do something over and over enough, sort of repetitively, you get this if-then thing. Like, if this thing happens, then I do this. You can condition your brain to overcome those obstacles by having that kind of, obviously, like, call and response, if you will. But it takes time. You have to do it over and over and over again. And again, the more that you can have good environments to promote that plan, then the better off you're going to do. So, last thing I was going to ask as we get to the end of the topic of the show is that, what are your thoughts on how much control that we have over our happiness? So I'm not like asking you guys to make like New Year's resolutions right now on the podcast or anything.
Do it and stick to it. We said it on the podcast. Everybody go. We're going around right now.
Because I will admit, I'm personally not a New Year's resolution guy. I am a big proponent of, if you want to just make a change, just start whenever you want and just like have a concrete date. So just do it. Like, there's nothing magical or special about January. Your problems don't reset when you go from December 31st to January 1st.
Sadly, no.
Oh, yes. Any thoughts on the control that we have over our happiness?
I think you have like complete control, right? It's sort of not complete control. I think your perspective on how you handle situations is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have been down on my luck. I've lost a lot of people close to me. I lost my dad when I was 4, and my mother of me and my sister had to, do everything until I got to where I am now. And so it's like, I've seen her more happy more than sad, despite it all, and it's like, that was completely out of her control, but she still pushed through, right? And it's sort of that, no matter the obstacle, you can at least try your best to push through. And there's going to be down days, and it's going to be hard, but there's always something to look forward to. There's always something to do, even if you like make it up. Like, I've been in like bad straits and stuff mentally, and it's been like, I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to go this far this time. I'm going to do this time. And it's like, even like little fake goals you set for yourself are better than just doing nothing and being miserable.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. Like, I grew up with a lot of like medical issues with my back, and so for like 5 years I wore like back braces. And that came with its own suite of like issues going from like middle school into high school, and then you have a physical disability, and like people can see that physical disability.
Right.
But I think sometimes I was just like woefully oblivious to certain things, but then whenever I would find out about, because I was too busy like interacting with my friends or doing whatever, but then the things that I did know about, like, at the end of the day, like, it's just what other people think or what they say, and they're not people that are important to me. And I think sometimes we have to be like conscious of those things when it comes to like judgment for others,
Right.
on others, or judgment towards ourselves. because I've run into issues with that in my adult life with my own family members. Thinking that family members shouldn't be doing things that is just like completely natural to them. And, you know, if somebody is judging you for that, like, that's just their own issue. That's not something that like you need to change about yourself.
Right. Again, going back to the whole like surrounding yourself with environments that support you and getting rid of negative environments, which
sure.
I'm not saying that's easy, because in some situations, if you're in a job that you need the money for, that might be hard to get out of a job you hate, or you know, if you're in, God forbid, like a abusive relationship or something like that. So I'm not saying it's like clear cut, like just toss out the bad, like doesn't bring you joy or whatever that moniker is. But it is proven to work when you can do it.
Yeah, and especially like the having outside support thing, I think is so important, because it's like, excuse me, I've needed that a lot, and my friends have needed that, and it's like hard when they're stuck in that, when other people that you care about are stuck in that rut of like, oh, everything goes wrong, like every time I have it together, like something else goes wrong. And I like have had and currently have like friends that are in those situations, and it's like, I know whenever I felt like that, like the main thing that helped me was like having those other people to lean on. So like being that person for somebody else, and pointing out whatever it's this like self-hate and all of that is happening, to be like, hey, like it's okay, like let's do this, let's go get coffee, let's figure this out, I think is like super helpful for people like getting out of that like negativity within their brains.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is like touched on a couple of times a little bit, but like just giving yourself some grace too, like for your own journey, or you know, whatever, even at just your goals. Like not every day, you know, Michael mentioned this, like not every day is going to be a good day. You're going to have bad days with happiness too. Like not every day these tricks and control over happiness are going to make you feel happy. Like some days you're just going to not feel happy, or you're just going to have a bad day or whatever. Right. And sometimes with your goals, you're going to stumble a little bit or have setbacks and all kinds of stuff. And I think it's easy to say that about other people and like give other people grace, but it's harder to say like, well, I deserve the same grace, and like not every single day is going to be perfect, and not every single day I'm going to be happy, even if I am working at it. So yeah, that was something that I constantly remind myself of.
And it is a good reminder, because happiness is an emotion and it is temporary. So as much as everyone would like to be happy all the time because of hedonic adaptation, you can't be. Wouldn't it be amazing if we just watched a TV show and it's the best thing ever, and we were up here, everything is hunky-dory for forever? Yeah. But that's not how life works. We have anger and jealousy and sadness and lots of other not fun emotions that we have to go through. But yeah, it's important to remember, like Kiley said, like giving yourself that grace. Like you're not always going to be happy all the time. What I'm presenting to you, the listener, is just ways to increase it and make it happen more often in your life. But again, you will have to kind of work at it. So, any last thoughts as we wrap up topic of the show on happiness? Any last things you want to tell the listeners?
Super interesting stuff, though.
Yeah.
Find little ways to be happy.
Yes.
Small things.
Find your knickknacks.
Find your knickknacks. Find your hikes. Find something small.
Find your paper mache animals.
Exactly. Doesn't have to be a big giant thing. Even if it's a little happiness, it's better than none.
Yeah. Definitely. Nicely said. And with that, we're going to wrap up topic of the show now. And now we're going to transition to outside of science. That's the part of the show where we talk about things, you guessed it, outside of science, to prove that we are in fact not robots that work and do research 24/7. So it has been winter break. It has been, 4 or 5 weeks since the last episode, Kiley? It was like the middle of December when we had the owl on the show. Yes. It was pretty great. Go back and listen to the bird episode if you haven't. But what have we all been up to over winter break? Classes start next week, so this will go up next week. So what have we been doing over winter break?
All right, I'll start. Well, outside of seeing some family members over Christmas, I have been spending a lot of time, I talked about it before we started, but I was crocheting this monster of a blanket. That's a lot of work, but also a lot of Pal World commitment, if you guys know the game.
Okay, you're a Pal World person.
Yes.
All right.
So, like, I played before.
That's Pokemon with guns, in case anyone's listening.
And you can also enslave other people. It's fine. It's the realistic Pokemon. If we're being real. But, no, I played before, like, a couple years ago with my siblings, and then I I like burnt myself out on it, and now I'm like renewed in playing, and I'm
okay.
also not working this lab that I was working at before that was like sucking all my extra time. So I actually have time to like
Time
have
affluence.
hobbies.
Yeah.
And so I've been like very committed to playing the game. I'm like towards like end game play now, where I only have like a little bit left in the world to
Okay.
explore. But that has been sucking up a lot of my time. But it's
Gotcha.
also very fun.
Yes.
That and Fallout. But
Oh,
the
fun.
disappointment of having to wait for like the new episodes to come out
We're talking
for
about the TV show, not the.
TV
Yes. Has been excruciating. Although we missed 2 episodes and didn't realize, and then
Oh.
we're able to watch 2 episodes in a row.
Oh, nice.
So that's been really good. And anybody who hasn't watched the show definitely should, because it's amazing.
Agreed. Let's see. What have I been doing since the last episode?
Since you had a shorter break than the rest
Yeah,
of us,
I
as
didn't
you
have
mentioned.
quite as long of a break because I'm merely a staff member, not a student. But let's see. We've been going on some more like longer. We hadn't really. My fiance and I used to hike a lot, and we hadn't really been doing that because our older dog couldn't really, and she actually passed. So weird silver lining is that now we can do that with our younger dog, who's like super active and loves it. So we've been trying to go on more hikes. Like so one of our resolutions, I guess, is to do at least one a month with
Nice.
her, and then just like getting into walking a lot more with her too. So that was fun. We went over. On Christmas Day and New Year's Day, we went over to just like a Queenie County Park, which is not too far from here. It's just kind of a nice, like big park, like county park nature thing that's got a huge outer loop, or huge. It's like 4 miles, but it's a nice outer loop. So anyway, that was really, really lovely. And now I feel like I also have to mention a game.
Go for it.
So
Again, the sky's the limit for
You
this
also
segment.
have to mention a game version of a TV show as
oh
well.
God.
There's actually more of those nowadays.
Yeah, I know. I'm like trying to think of one that I've watched. I mean, I also love the Fallout show. We've been like waiting on watching the new episodes because I can't stand waiting
I
for
don't
them to
blame
come
you,
out.
yeah.
So we're just like waiting to pile them all up. But my fiance and I have been playing Cult of the Lamb.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
yes.
so that's been like sucking all of
Have you
my
been sacrificing your
attention.
followers?
We sacrificed a few, yeah.
Okay.
So that's been pretty great. It's nice having my little cult and powering up.
For the listeners,
everything.
Cult of the Lamb is a game where you play as the leader of a cult, but you're like anthropomorphic humans. I believe you're a sheep.
Yes.
Yeah. If you do the dual player, you're like one's a sheep and one's a goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your followers are like
Or, like,
cute-esque
little
animals,
animals,
but there's
yeah.
all like the culty, demonic stuff that you would expect. But it's like a cute art style, so it's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it's
Cute
very
art style,
strange.
like gory application, I
Yeah,
feel like.
definitely,
So it makes it
yeah.
more palatable.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels okay to be in a cult.
Yes.
Yay, satanic rituals, but fun and cute.
Yeah. Have you seen the little animations for that game? Somebody, I don't know who, but there's like little animated clips of
think
like
it's with
things from the game. It might have been like promos from the game
I
or
think it's
something.
promos. I think it's
Maybe.
actually like the company doing
Okay.
it.
There's
yeah.
like a scene in it where like the cult, like the lamb gets back to the group, and then he's like, guys, like, why is so and so like who has like passed away just like still out? Like, why did nobody bury him? And then
God,
they're
that's
like,
so
well,
accurate.
like you weren't here and we didn't know what to do. And then he's like,
Wow.
what? If I wasn't here, like, and you needed to eat, would you just like not figure out how to eat? And then they're
Yes.
like, we also haven't eaten in 4 days.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up.
So what about you, Michael?
I have been wandering a lot. Went
You
on
do
a couple
another
hikes.
8-hour hike day?
Not an 8 hour hack.
Okay.
Not an 8 hour.
A 10-hour.
A 10 hour. That's not too bad. I was jealous here. Went to a couple places. On the solstice, winter solstice, my buddy and I went to Valley View Glade. It's a giant glade. I went herping there earlier in the year with our classmate Elisa. And we saw a whole bunch of snakes and stuff. But for the solstice, my buddy went up there. We drank wine and burned sage on the hillside. Beautiful, really fun. It's a beautiful place. Highly recommend. It's Hillsborough. It's like a 35-minute drive. But this year, best hike so far, I went to LeBrock. It's LeBrock Creek Conservation Area. It's off FF 109, sort of southwestish of here. I did not realize the hike elevation. I was expecting a small little hill. It was from the lowest point to the highest point. I think it was like a 400-foot elevation, just
Wow.
And I was, of course, I went the way that was the steepest. And on the way down, it was really nice. But I found some caves and some giant canyons and all that sort of stuff. So, been bushwhacking a lot, wandering. Video games I've been playing since everyone else has talked about them. 2-week Minecraft phase happened. It's already
Obligatory,
over.
that's
What'd you build?
Every year, at least.
I blocked out the sky.
Oh,
What?
okay.
Like the whole sky in the entire
for
world, or just
for
over
most
your
people's
base?
builds, yeah.
That's crazy.
I typically, someone will say something like unhinged or like strange, and I will do that task.
All right.
Because I think because I usually just put on a hockey game and do it, and so I'm watching the game but doing something with my hands.
Right.
Big fidgeter. And then so I blocked out the sky. Great fun. And then I will say, been fishing a lot. Love fishing. 10 out of 10 activity. It's a sport. I'd say it again. It's a sport. I'm really bad at it.
How
Wait,
is
real
fishing in
life
December
fishing?
and January? Like,
Yeah, real life fishing.
Okay, I
go
was like
fishing.
video game
No.
fishing, because there's a lot of
Okay,
video game
video
fishing to be had.
I love video game fishing too, but real life fishing. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I go trout fishing.
Okay.
Again, not the best at it, but the whole point, that's why they call it fishing, not catching.
there's a place in Branson that's like over by the dam that they release a bunch of trout, I think,
Yeah, I think
into.
Bennett's
Like rainbow trout, and it's literally like we went over there and we're just trying to like check out the water.
Yeah.
And it's enough people were fishing them, but it kind of felt like cheating because you basically could just like dip a net in the water and you would probably have like three or four trout in there.
No, Forest Park is like that. You just throw in, you just kind of pull them out, especially early season when they just
Yeah.
release them because they're all young and aggressive.
You can go fishing in
but-
Forest Park.
Yeah, the Jefferson Lake. It's on the east side of it. Big
Did
old
not
lake.
know
They
this.
stock it.
What you should start doing is rock turning by water sources. And on your hikes, that's what I do sometimes. I
What's
took
called
a aquatic
crawfish?
invertebrates class, and there's like amazing. You have to be respectful about it and put the rocks back exactly where you found them and not disturb the creatures too much.
Salamanders.
But you don't touch the salamanders though,
Well, yeah, they got
because the oil's in your fingers. But rock turning is fun. There's
Yes.
like lots of invertebrates that you don't realize are under the rocks until you pick them up.
Yeah, I love crawfishing and creeking. I think bio lunch first time I came to Amsel, bio lunch, the first introduction to everyone, I had to explain what creeking was to people, which the process of creeking is simply going into a creek and just looking at stuff and lifting up rocks, catching bugs and animals. Big fan of creeking. Not great when the water is like 29 degrees. Don't do it.
Did you creak over the winter break?
I accidentally creaked.
Accidental creaking.
I slipped and
This
creaked.
is a
Wow.
weird verb.
Yes, but mostly outdoor stuff.
Cool. I was here all winter break. Did a lot of dog sitting for professors and student stuff, so made a little bit of extra cash. That was nice. Things I did that were fun. I went to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra in December. That was super
amazing.
awesome. I had heard many good things about them for over a year, so I was like, I need to just go see them. That was great. What else did I do? I went and saw the new Avatar movie.
Oh yes, that was so good. I
was
saw it too.
I thought it was okay.
What? Okay, to be fair, in my opinion, the second one is the best, but also I have a marine focus.
I think the first one's the
so
best, but I think the third
that's
movie
fair.
redoes the second movie, and I'm like, why did we do this?
I definitely feel like they.
That's probably why you
threw
liked it, because
yes.
Way of Water is your favorite.
Yeah. Well, I liked all the creatures from it, but it definitely felt like they threw in that whole conflict with Jake of like, I can't be Taruk Bato again,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just in the third one, like crazy.
Yeah, it was 3 hours and 17 minutes. It was way too long.
Yes. Whoa.
We saw it at the Science Center and IMAX, which was very cool and it was very pretty. It was too long and it was pretty much the second movie again.
Yeah,
So
it really
I sound negative. I was very whelmed by it. I was like, it was fine. So
I just like it for getting more of the story, but it's definitely not their best work so far.
yeah, supposedly we're getting 4 and 5 in 2029 and 2031. So mark your
Wow.
calendars, everybody, for that.
I will
I'm
not-
committed.
And
I've already
what about a
sacrificed
game?
like 15
Oh
years now.
yeah. Well, we'll talk about TV and games. So for TV, I watched this show on Hulu called Dope Sick, which is not a new show. It's from like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 at this point. We're in 2026 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think it's like 5 or 6 years old. It is about the opioid epidemic in the back half of the 90s, early 2000s, and Purdue Pharma, which is owned by this philanthropic family called the Sacklers. And the show basically follows over 8 one-hour episodes, a bunch of different perspectives. So like how the Sacklers are developing this drug and pushing it on the market, how the pharmaceutical sales reps are like lying to the doctors about how not addictive it is, the doctors who are prescribing to their patients, the patients who are taking and get addicted, the DA who's investigating Purdue Pharma, as well as a couple of lawyers in the Justice Department. So it's kind of jumping back and forth between timelines of people, but it is very gripping television. I think if you are the least bit curious about like how epidemics happen, the amount of people that can affect and lives that can ruin, definitely check it out. It's very gripping drama. Not the happiest thing to watch over winter break when it's Christmas, but I was like, this is a really good show. So would highly recommend it. And then for games, I've been playing Super Mario Maker 2 on the Nintendo Switch, which is like make your own Mario levels. I am not a creator, but I am a player, so I'll just play everyone else's levels and having a very good time with that.
There's some crazy levels that people do.
There are.
That reminds me of it's not Mario, but it's like the same idea. I forget what it's called. Maybe Happy Wheels.
Happy Wheels.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where it's like super grotesque version of Mario Maker.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can make
I
your
don't
own level.
know. There's like a bunch of people online who've played the game if you ever look into it. But it's like it's Mario Maker, but instead of like cutesy like family fun, I feel like is probably the best way to describe it. It's like people getting like vicious, like their bodies
Yeah.
are like
Death
torn
and
apart.
chaos.
No,
and
it's like Super
blood.
Meat Boy.
Not,
It's like-
yes,
Oh,
but like,
yes.
but like almost
Less
like
more realistic almost.
yes, but the art style is like simple,
Okay.
where it's like little pieces. I don't know how to describe
It's like
it.
very Sims art
yeah,
style.
Yeah,
where it's
but-
just like it's
yeah.
very simple, like 2D pieces, and then they just kind of like break apart. So it's not super
You
realistic,
hit
like
the ground wrong,
biologically,
and the
but
kid in your bicycle just flies
Yes.
across the
Oh,
screen and
Yeah.
blows
okay.
up.
Wow.
If
you
those
should
who
check
know-
out some videos.
Oh,
of
it's
it.
All right, I'll have to look that up
pretty
There was
funny.
like
afterwards.
games where like you'd spawn into like a chamber and you have to like throw stuff, and then there's always a Justin Bieber tier, which is like the worst one because it was like
Yes.
that era,
Yeah.
right? Instead of doing French class, I would be playing Happy Wheels.
Yeah.
on
There's also
Bieber.
like audios for the characters like making different like screams.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
It's
grunts
basically a
and,
meme
like,
game.
exclamations
Yeah.
of pain.
Pretty
Okay.
hardcore
So
meme
it's a
game.
little bit, it's strange. It's very like 2018
Yes.
online gaming coded, I feel
Oh,
like.
yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe more
even
like
earlier.
2016.
Yeah.
Just 10 years ago. That's so crazy. I
2016
saw
's
something
back.
about like Mannequin Challenge was like 10 years ago, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
fidget spinners.
All right. Anything last minute you want to mention for Outside of Science before I wrap up the show?
No.
Make paper mache animals.
Make paper mache animals.
Go on a hike.
And
Take
go
a
on a
hike.
Touch grass.
Take
Touch
a
Touch
grass.
grass. Take a hike.
Yep. All right. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of That Science and Nature Show. Remember, you can find past episodes of this show wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back in February, back in the studio, Kylie and I, with whoever our guests will be. We're still working on that.
TBD.
TBD. But we have some good guests lined up for the spring. So
Yeah, we do.
You'll be excited for that, listener. Other things I need to mention. Just trying to think about it as the outro. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to Sarah. Thank you to Kylie for coming on the show. Thank you to Ray Cannonberg for lending me his podcast equipment. As always, we love you, Ray. Until next time, we're back in the studio. You have been listening to That Science Nature Show. My name is Jeremy Howard. I'm choosing to be happy now, and we are out.